How has the response from students and the NTU community been towards you and your bus vlogs?
Wow. Okay, that's good.
NTU bus guy. Okay, we're getting into it.
We're into it. Hi everyone, I'm Jingen, currently a Year 3 Communication Studies student, and some of you might know me as the NTU bus guy. I'm working late, cause I got midterms. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine.
You've emceed everything from national dialogues with ministers to TEDx NTU events. When did you first discover your passion for hosting and public speaking?
Wow, so I think my passion for hosting and public speaking goes really a long way back to when I was in primary school. Right, so if you saw me back then, right, you'll see a really shy, scrawny young boy. You know, I never really dared to talk to anyone in class. I think one of my biggest turning point when it came to public speaking was actually in the year 2017. So in the year 2017, I actually wanted to run to be the president of the Students' Council in my batch. And back then, there were only like 20 people in my batch, and there was only one person who wanted to run for that role. And that was me. Right, so naturally I was like, okay, come on, it shouldn't be that bad, right? I mean, all I have to do is to just sound convincing, just make my pitch good, and that should be good enough. So that's what I did. I spent days preparing for my speech, did all my rehearsals, whatever. And then on the day of the presentation or the elections, I did my speech. I thought I nailed it, but 3 working days later, the results came out, and it turned out that I wasn't being elected to be the president of the Students' Council. And I don't know whether it was maybe because my teacher didn't like the way that I presented or the ideas that I had, but that was really one of the lowest moments in my entire life, because I realized that if I didn't know how to improve my speaking, if I didn't know how to communicate well, I was going to lose out in life. So I think that was really the turning point that made me realize that, hey, maybe I should spend time to improve on my speaking skills.
What's the most memorable event you've ever hosted and why?
So actually the most recent one that I hosted, the NTU Fest, was one of the most memorable events. Because I guess ever since young, I always had this dream or envision me staying on the big stage, being able to just talk to a large crowd. And I actually got to fulfill that dream very, very recently when I actually hosted this year's NTU Fest in 2025. I remember at the final night, at the final performance, it was with Jade Rasif. And right over there, I told Jade Rasif, let's take a picture. And she was like, sure, and let's play some music at the back. So we had this little part as the finale. I was just jumping with the entire NTU crowd, and that was really like a dream come true moment for me in NTU. So that's really one of the most memorable events that I've held in NTU. Yeah.
It's crazy. Like you look around and they're all with you.
Yes, correct. It's like a sea of the NTU people. We're all jumping, having fun together, and this is really like the dream that I really wanted,
You published your first book, Backstage with a Crazy Eloquent Agent, at just 18. What inspired you to write it at that age?
Right, so as I mentioned to you just now, right, when I first finished my internship with Darren in 2018, when I first finished my internship with Darren in 2018, then I was like, okay, it's really cool, it's over now, what's next? And then I remember my dad telling me, like, hey, you should do something after this internship, document it, or maybe just do something with your experiences. And just so happened that Darren back then, he has his own book. So I was very curious. I asked him, like, Darren, how do you actually write your own book back then? So he did share with me, and I was like, okay, cool. So when should I write my first book, or how can I write my first book? And he was like, you know what, Jingen, you can actually write your first book right now. Right? Document the experiences that you've had interning with me, and at the same time share all the speaking skills that you've learned. Because at the end of the day, you don't need to be a full professional expert in order for you to write a book. All you need to do is to be able to document maybe 1 or 2 stories that is able to help and influence someone who is just 2 steps behind you. And I was like, okay, that shouldn't be too hard. It was actually quite hard, because I guess a lot of the time it was a lot of imposter syndrome, wondering whether I could even publish the book, whether I'm even worthy enough to publish the book. So it's a lot of inner work that I had to go through. But thankfully, eventually, we managed to publish it after 2 years of writing when I finished my A-levels. And even though it might not be like the most amazing book, what I would say that it was really amazing for my time where I was. And I also had feedback from some of my younger friends who actually benefited from the book, mainly because they were just inspired by my entire journey. So what I learned is that everyone's story matters, and it is so important to document that down and make sure that you're able to share it with the world. Yeah.
Okay. Last question. How has the response from students and the NTU community been towards you and your bus vlogs?
Wow. Honestly, I would say that, I'd like to share the truth, which is that honestly, when it comes to doing anything different, there will always be mixed reactions, right? There are always people who support you in what you do, and there will always be people that might not support you in what you do. But if there's anything that I learned from this, right, is that if you want to be special or if you want to stand out, you cannot be vanilla. You cannot expect everyone to like you. And that's one harsh truth that I learned, whether is it in my speaking journey, in my content creation journey, or even life in general. Yeah, if you want to speak your truth or if you want to do something, you have to own it. And naturally, there will be people who might hate on it, there might be people who just disagree with you, but that is okay. Because naturally, eventually, you'll find a tribe that resonates with you, with your values, with your beliefs. And that is what I feel is even more important than anything else. Right? Rather than try to attract everyone, find your tribe, attract the people who really matters to you, and I believe that these are the people you're meant to serve. Yeah. I think to any NTU student watching this video, I would say that this is your years to really just enjoy yourself and live the best life that you can. And if there's anything that I will share, just to live your life your way. Right? Just because a certain life works for somebody doesn't mean that it works for you. So you always got to ask yourself, what kind of life do you want to live for yourself? Who do you want to spend time with? What skills is that you want to learn? And based on all of this, you then design your life that suits whatever lifestyle that you really want to achieve for yourself. That is how you live your best uni life. Right, see you guys!